Irving fires from straight.
The easy dunk poster. Welcome to the league.
Here's Durant, yes. Dinwiddie pops it back the other way. Durant with the step.
If Brooklyn plays this way and moves the ball, they will be a problem to guard on the offense. That's what LeVert can do.
Oh, look out, off the head of Jared Allen. And Irving takes advantage right there. 2 bad turnovers by the Warriors. And Steve Kerr wants to talk about things. But the ball is knocked away. Here's Dinwiddie. 2-on-1. Durant throws it down.
Before we get to the content, I just wanted to let you guys know we're giving away a PlayStation 5 to one lucky subscriber that turned on our notifications and subscribed to this channel. If you want additional entries, follow us on Twitter and Instagram or check out our TheFlightMike TV channel. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. On December 13th, 2020, the entire NBA got their first glimpse of a healthy Kevin Durant and a Brooklyn Nets squad that, personally, I was decimating over the offseason because all we got so far was 2 individuals that just loved giving the media headlines to run away with while they weren't on the court with one another. I remember about a year ago, last February, Kyrie Irving literally came out and said, if you remember about a year ago when Kyrie Irving was asked what the Brooklyn Nets would need to do to get to the next level, he said this. I mean, it's transparent, it's out there, it's glaring in terms of the pieces that we need in order to be at that next level. I'm going to continue to reiterate it. We're going to do the best with the guys that we have in our locker room now, and we'll worry about all the other stuff in terms of moving pieces and everything else as an organization down the line in the summer. Collectively, I feel like we have great pieces, but it's pretty glaring we need 1 more piece or 2 more pieces that will complement myself, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, Garrett Temple, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Caris LeVert. And we'll see how that evolves. Then this past offseason, you had him saying things like, we don't really need a true head coach. Everybody could take turns revolving at head coach. And then that's before we mentioned the fact that Kyrie came out and said that Kevin Durant was the first player that he's ever played with that was actually a clutch scorer.
10 seconds left, 1-point game. Who's shooting? You or Kyrie, KD?
Depends on who's hot. I don't see it as anything other than that. Like 1-3 pick and roll, or it's an ISO for either one of us, or it's something great for our team. One thing I've always been comfortable with is, I felt like I was the best option on every team I played for, down the stretch. This is the first time in my career where I could look down and be like, that motherfucker can make that shot too.
Oh, you tripping. I've hit game-winning shots my whole life. I was not like that. I was like, damn, because you were there for a couple seasons. I mean, I played with Kyrie for 3 seasons. The whole time while I was there, I only wanted to see him be an MVP of our league. I only cared about his success. And it just didn't align. Yeah. It just didn't align. And we was able to win a championship. Yeah. That's the craziest thing. We were still able to win a championship, and we could never align, but I only cared about his well-being, both on and off the floor. And it kind of hurt me a little bit.
And then, of course, more recently, you had Kyrie Irving burning sage at the Boston Celtics TD Garden prior to a preseason game. Pretty much what I'm trying to tell you guys here is the Brooklyn Nets' only enemy and the only thing that could ruin the Brooklyn Nets was themselves. And I guess I'm a little traumatized because I'm a Laker fan, and I remember the years where we had Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard and Pau Gasol, and ironically, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets right now, Steve Nash, on our roster, and we were not able to capitalize off of that fantastic roster whatsoever. We hired the wrong coach for the entire endeavor, which is ironically the assistant head coach of the Brooklyn Nets right now, Mike D'Antoni. Obviously, there were a ton of injuries throughout the year. Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. Achilles, the Lakers finished with an 8th seed and got swept in the NBA playoffs when Dwight Howard was supposed to lead us. And I was terrified because if you're Jarrett Allen and you're going into that locker room knowing that, hey, Kyrie Irving doesn't mind if you get traded, how are you going to feel? What if you're Taurean Prince, who in my opinion is a fantastic role player as well? How would you feel if Kyrie Irving didn't mind if you got traded? Well, here's the thing. We got a glimpse tonight of how incredible the Brooklyn Nets could be if they're clicking on all cylinders and they are not distracted at all, and Kyrie Irving isn't necessarily giving the media crazy headlines to grab on. In the first quarter alone, the Brooklyn Nets had 40 points. Kevin Durant looked as dominant as ever. Kyrie Irving looked like the perfect complement to them, and here's the crazy part. When Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving went to the bench, the Brooklyn Nets essentially had a starting five that very closely resembled the team that they were trotting out when Kyrie Irving was injured last year. You have players like Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert that could take on the scoring load. You have players like Jarrett Allen, who's a remarkable traditional center that I personally think has tremendous upside and always had tremendous upside. And you have an all-star cast of head coaches over there with multiple leaders that have won championships throughout their careers leading this team. More importantly, they're on the East, and although the East is slowly beginning to catch up to the West, it's not nearly as strong as the West is. If you put the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets against each other, currently I have the Brooklyn Nets. You put the Brooklyn Nets against any team so far on the East, I think the Brooklyn Nets easily come out and win the East. If Kevin Durant could stay healthy for the entirety of the year, I'm actually predicting that he wins MVP this year. If there are no distractions off the court, if Kyrie Irving doesn't, act like Kyrie Irving off the court, then this is easily the team to beat in the East. Most importantly, I can't help but think of what this will do for Kevin Durant's legacy. Winning a championship in New York will be absolutely huge for a state that hasn't really experienced basketball success in literal decades. If you remember, the reason Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors wasn't necessarily because he was struggling to win championships there, because he could have stayed with the Golden State Warriors and they would have consistently won championships there, in my opinion. The reason Kevin Durant left is because he felt empty inside in terms of his legacy. He felt like he didn't really belong anywhere. And when you look at LeBron James, when he left the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time to join the Miami Heat, he did so because he wanted to win a championship. And he was scared that he would not know what it takes to win a championship or finish his career ringless or waste his prime on teams that couldn't contend. But then when he left back from Miami to Cleveland, he really wanted to do something similar to what Kevin Durant's doing right now. He wanted to add on to his legacy. He wanted to be the first player to bring a championship to Cleveland in something like 65 years, and he succeeded at that. Once he succeeded at that, and he saw once again that his final years of his prime were potentially going to waste, well, he wanted to go and resurrect a storied franchise and bring them back to relevance once again with the Los Angeles Lakers. And I feel like Kevin Durant's doing the same thing here. He left the OKC Thunder to join the Golden State Warriors, so his prime could not go to waste and he could at least win some championships. And now he's at the stage of his career where he wants to bring a state that has not had any success in the game of basketball a championship. And when I look at this Brooklyn Nets roster, I can't help but feel like he is going to be able to accomplish that. When I look at him, the only thing that could potentially affect him is injuries or distractions off of the court. But I can't help but feel like that'll be mitigated by the front office, the head coaching staff, and even the fact that they have other veterans aside from Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the roster. I don't want to be talking ahead of myself, but currently I have the Brooklyn Nets as my favorite to win the NBA Finals, or at least to make it into the NBA Finals, partially because I feel like the Lakers are going to still be a little gassed from the fact that they have a 70-day rest period before they played their first game. I feel like that might be a little bit of a storyline this entire season, And the fact that the Nets had a full, well, at least Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant had a significantly longer rest is going to pay dividends coming down the stretch this year. So let me know in the comment section down below, what are your takeaways from Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving's first official game? Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.